I'm Andrew from Ether Automation, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use workflow automations in Zoho CRM to automate your follow-up. Now, specifically, we're going to be talking about not accidentally sending an email, like as a follow-up email, after this person has already replied. All right. So if you're in a B2B environment and you need to follow up every, let's say a week, right? And you send out a quote and you want to follow up each week. So you're going to set up a workflow automation to send an email each week to check in. But you actually don't want to send that reply, that follow-up email, if they have replied to your quote. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if they've replied to an email. And if they have, then we're going to not send that email out. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And hopefully I'm sharing the right screen. Otherwise, this is a short video. Okay, so I'm in Zoho CRM right now. You can see this is our dummy account. And we have these contacts right here. We can actually see, all right, we've not sent out any emails because that's something that Zoho, the sandbox accounts that we have, they don't allow us to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab in the settings. Let me just close out some of these. And I'm going to create a workflow rule. And this workflow rule is we're going to apply to a deal, right? We'll say follow up. All right. And this is based on the record action of edit when a specific field gets modified. So stage gets modified to the value of quotes, right? And we're going to apply this to all deals. So far, this is pretty straightforward. Now, you may have used these schedule actions before, right? Let's say days, and 7 days after it's sent. After it goes into that stage, we send it out after 7 days. And you may have a gut reaction to just, send out the email notification. But one thing you need to know about Zoho CRM, at least in its current state, is that this email goes out regardless of if they reply or not, right? And so what we actually want to do is we want to create a function for this. So I'm going to create a function. We're going to call this send follow up email. Done. So what does this function actually need to do? So first thing we need to do is we need to check to see if contact related to deal has sent us an email in the last, let's say, 7 days. All right. In order to do that, we need to do the following. Get the associated contact, obviously. So once we know if the contact has sent us an email, as in we sent them a quote and then they replied 3 days in, or maybe they just sent us a separate email thread. We just don't want to send a follow-up email if they're in communication with us. So the next thing we want to do is we want to say if an email is received, return, and then send email follow-up. Okay, so this here is actually an interesting trick we're going to talk about later on in the video about returning a function if if we don't need to do anything more. So let's start out. Let's make some arguments. We're going to make an ID, and it is associated with deals. So deals and deal ID. Done and save. So let's get the deal equals zoho.crm.getRecord by ID, deal ID. Real simple, right? And then we want to get the contact associated with the deal. So contact ID equals deal.get. And let's just look at our deals real quick to understand what is the API name. So we have the contact name. And if I look at the API names for the deals, we've got contact name right here. It is a lookup. So get contact name dot get ID. Now, if you're familiar with Zoho Deluge, this here might error because it's a double get. So you want to null check. So if deal dot get contact name. So if this is empty, then we're just going to do, and I talked about this right here. We're going to do this thing where we just return the function. This basically means, okay, end the function, we're done. So if this is empty, we can't send out an email anyways. So we're going to just end the function. So then contact equals zoho.crm.getRecord by ID. Contacts, and it is the contact ID. All right, so I can save, and this should work. I mean, it's going to error out because I didn't put any data in, but there we go. So now we actually want to get the related record. Let me go back to the contact. All right, and let me see if I can bring it in. Emails. So this person doesn't have an email. So let me just go and send one. So we have an example here. Send. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to get the related record. So potential emails equals zoho.crm.get related records. And the relationship name, if we go back to our APIs, related fields, emails. All right. So we're going to get the relation of emails from the contacts of this particular contact ID. Right. So let's info potential emails. And I'm going to go back to the deal so we can run this. There we are. So we have our emails related list. I'm going to go to a JSON parser so we can read this a little bit better. So we got the email. We could see that the subject is test, right? It was sent, so it wasn't received. It was sent from us. We can see the from and the to, right? In here, there's also the time associated with it, right? So what we're going to do is we're now going to iterate over the emails. So for each email list equals dot get, and it is this. List. So for each of the emails, potential email. For each of the emails in the email list, we want to see if there is an email we've received in the past 7 days. So 7 days ago equals zoho.current time dot sub day 7. Right? That was 7 days ago. So now we want to iterate through all of these. The first thing we want to do is we want to check to see if email is more recent than 7 days. And then check to see if email was received, not sent, right? So they send a reply. So let's go ahead and do that. So if potential email dot get, and in here we have the, what is it, the send time. So if the sent time is greater than, or let's do less than, right? So if it's older than 7 days ago, as in the sent time is older than 7 days ago, what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a little trick with Zoho with Deluge. We're going to do something called continue, right? So what that does is basically if it's older than 7 days, we're just going to loop back to the beginning and skip the rest of this loop, right? Now, because of the way date times work, this here may have a weird issue. So we're going to go to string and then Unix epoch, right? I don't know why we need to do this. Basically, Unix epoch converts it to a number since like it was a Jan 1, 1970 or something like that. And so it's just a number that we're comparing. So we don't have to deal with like date formats and this was in like, day, month, year. That one's in month, day, year. Like we don't have to worry about any of that anymore. We've converted it to a Unix epoch, right? So next we want to do is we want to see if the email was received and not sent. So if the potential email dot get, and when we go back to here, we look at sent equals true. We want to continue as well. Continue. So basically, if we sent it, right, we're just looping back to the beginning, looking at the next email. Or if it's older than 7 days, we're looping back to the beginning and looking at the next email, right? And so the question now is received email equals false. We'll say true. Because if we didn't receive one equals false, right? Real simple. So if received email equals true, we're going to return it, much like we did up here. And then finally, since it's not true, if it's false, we're just going to send that email. And I'm going to drag that in. I have another video where I talk about how to use an email template. I'm going to put that up here in the pop-up. So I'm just going to put in a dummy email, admin user ID. To contact.get email. Follow up, checking, and cannot set the start of a variable with a number. So now we're going to run a quick test, right? So info, did I receive an email? Question mark, info, received email. And let's test it out. Which is correct because it would have passed here. So info, actually I don't need to info. So the sent time was sooner than, was more recent than 7 days ago, but the email was sent, and so it didn't convert to a false, which is what we want. So then it returned here versus sending out the email reply. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click save, and I'm going to save. So now what this thing does is after 7 days, it checks to see if they replied, and if they didn't reply, it sends them a follow-up email. Right. So this is mostly helpful in businesses where you don't want to overly email someone, or you don't want to send them an email when, a day after they've replied as an automated follow-up. You want to check to make sure they're still in communication before you send it out. So if you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.